What's up everyone and welcome back to Reload Reacts episode 67. My name is Trey and today we are going to look through r/MaliciousCompliance, the subreddit for those who are technically following all of their given directions, but not the spirit of what they actually mean. This first post is by Scary Expert 1929. Punishing me for underperforming for 1 day in 2 years? No problem. Hello everyone. I will try to be concise. Background. I work at a company where I handle mid to high level complaints to managers, PR and legal. My daily requirement is 40 cases handled per day. There are some of my team colleagues that struggle with this, but I don't, and I don't feel lazy to stop at 40, so I have handled 50 to 55 basically every day for the past 2 years. There is no bonus or even recognition for this, I just did it because it felt like a friendly obligation to the company. Complaints can be a 5-minute resolution or a 2-hour Zoom call with our New York lawyers. It's a gamble really. The event. Recently, I had a day where I felt a bit sick and at the same time had bad luck of only getting very hard cases that required more time, so I had 39 cases, one under the requirement. I thought nothing of it as my weekly average way off the charts, 50 plus as usual. The very next day I felt better and went back to my usual high numbers. Come Monday I had a emergency one-on-one with my manager where I was informed that I had to attend a 3-day workshop/seminar on how to best meet requirements because I underperformed last week. My jaw dropped and I asked, don't they count the weekly, monthly and yearly numbers? To which I was told that the daily requirement is 40, and this is standard practice, nothing we can do. Basically, it was a workshop for underperformers who had 20 to 30 out of 40 cases daily. It was nothing hard, but I did need to drive there for 3 days after work and listen to HR guys giving bad advice, as they never actually handled the cases in real life, and I had to talk about what I will do to improve my numbers and reach the 40, as the nonsense HR talk calls it. This made me lose hours and hours of my free time and I was livid. After it was over, I had a long think and decided that I would do exactly that. I will reach the 40, and that's it. The aftermath. For the past few months, I go into work, I handle 40 cases my daily requirement, and then I do nothing for the rest of my shift. I have had multiple one-on-ones with my manager during this time, and I am constantly asked, is something wrong? To which I naively reply, no, am I in trouble? Am I underperforming? And then of course they say that I am 100% within the daily requirements, and that way I shut the conversation down. This is real life, so I can't really say I had a clever comeback or something like that, but I do keep playing the fool that has no idea what is wrong now, but I find satisfaction in knowing that they got used to my overachieving and are now suffering for the lack of it. Before Easter, they put up an internal ad for promoting another 2 managers, so my guess is how that is the number of people they will now need to pay extra just because they lost me as an overachiever. And they lost me for no reason other than their own stupidity. Thank you all, I hope I did not bore you. Don't worry OP, you certainly didn't. You know, they were trying to tell you how to reach 40 and you did it now, so I guess you are doing exactly what the workshop told you to do. This next post is by I Aim to Sneeze. That time my mum upended the dress code for my entire school. When I was little, my mum sent me to a private/religious school. My family isn't religious, but they felt like I'd get a better education there. And when I switched to public school later, I found they were right, I was pretty far ahead. The school had uniforms. Boys wore button-down shirts with the school logo and blue slacks, and girls wore jumpers. My mum hated cleaning and ironing these white button-down shirts every day. I was one of 4 kids. Kids play and get grass stains. The shirts were taking up a lot of her free time. Finally, she gave up and bought a bunch of white polo shirts and started sending us to school in those. Admin had a conniption fit about it and brought her in for a meeting. They opened the dress code rulebook and pointed out that these shirts were missing the logo, so they were in violation. My mum looked over the rules and confirmed that the lack of a logo was the only violation. They said yes. She thanked them and left, and the school probably thought it was over. Just to be petty, They sent a school-wide memo regarding the dress code. That's wild, that's something my high school would have done. My mum took every polo shirt and stitched a homemade school logo into them. It wasn't hard to do as the logo was just the school initials. Admin was furious, but during the next meeting, realised their hands were tied. The memo piqued the curiosity of other parents, and they started asking my mum where she got the new school shirts. Apparently, she wasn't the only one sick of ironing and getting grass stains out. Suddenly, I wasn't the only one wearing a polo shirt to school. The worst part for the school is that, despite tuition being very expensive, they also had a kickback deal going with the local clothing store for the uniforms. The store had a monopoly on the sale of those shirts. When business started lagging, the store made their own version of the polos for sale. Eventually, the original shirts were phased out entirely. That was over 30 years ago, and my mum still loves telling this story. Edit. I'm cracking up at some of you calling my mum a Karen and clutching your pearls about the poor school losing revenue. You guys are acting like they had to put the school mascot down after they didn't make their nut-on uniform kickbacks. I can assure you they were and still are making money hand over fist and doing just fine. You guys typically side with the HOA as well when you read those stories? Yeah, I certainly wouldn't agree with the school for something like that. This next post is by MouseG23. You want us to dress in business attire when all other departments get to wear blue jeans? You got it. This happened many years ago. I worked for a top US banking institution. In our building, all of the other departments were allowed to wear blue jeans on Fridays. My manager decided that our department had to wear business attire on Fridays. To be clear, we had no customer-facing presence. Also, our department processors checked deposits from ATMs, and they always came in mesh bags from the armoured couriers. They were usually quite filthy and were frequently wet in bad weather, so when our manager told us that we couldn't wear blue jeans on Fridays like every other department, the entire team was upset. Here is where we cue the malicious compliance. The next Friday, I went to my closet and found the most mismatched outfit I could put together, sticking completely to business attire. We are talking pastel floral print shirt with pants with bold coloured stripes. I put it on and proudly walked into the office. My manager just happened to be on vacation that week, so nothing was said about my ridiculously mismatched outfit. Fast forward to the next Friday, I, once again, chose the most hideous combination of an outfit that I could put together. Once again, I walked into the office with my head held high, confident in my business attire. Imagine my surprise when I walked in and everyone on my team had a hideous combination of clothing. As you can imagine, my boss walks in and sees everyone in their various hideous outfits. The look on her face was priceless. All 15 of us in hideous outfits, but all meeting the business attire dress code. She pulled us all into a meeting and told us that our attire was entirely inappropriate for a business environment and that she would have to write each and every one of us up. I asked her to pull out the company handbook and read the definition of what it said as business attire. She read it, and it stated something like clean and pressed business attire consisting of slacks, skirts or dresses, and clean pressed shirts and blouses. It went on to say something like no blue jeans, t-shirts, ripped or clothing with holes, no sleeveless shirts, and no athletic or gym shoes. I asked her where in the guidelines does it say anything about whether the outfits matched or not. She couldn't find anything and said she would have to contact HR to discuss with them what her options were to write us up. Needless to say, none of us were ever written up. She did, however, say that we still needed a dress in business attire. Word quickly spread to other departments about her forcing us to wear business attire. The next two departments around us decided that they would also dress up in hideously matched clothing. The managers of those departments quickly got in touch with our manager and put pressure on her as they didn't like how their employees were dressing. Our manager called us into a meeting and told us we could wear blue jeans on Fridays going forward. Malicious compliance wins! Yay! This next post is by ALWAUS. No one leaves till 5 PM, but no overtime? Bet. Several years ago, I worked for an aerospace manufacturing company. You already know this won't end well, as a setup operator. Meaning my job was to arrive before shift start, usually 3 or 4 hours early, make sure all the 5-axis mills were calibrated, the automatic tool changer magazines were all loaded correctly and the tooling was in good condition, nothing dulled or broken. If there was damaged tooling, part of the process was removing the carrier, replacing the cutter and resetting the cutter height with a gauge, making it so that the tip of every cutter is in the exact same position for that particular holder every time. After being there for several years, the company eventually gets acquired and new management comes in. I'm there from 3 or 4 in the morning until 1 or 2 PM, sometimes earlier if a new job gets added to the floor. Schedule works fine for me. I get to beat traffic both ways and the pay is a little bit higher due to the differential. After a few weeks, it gets noticed that I constantly leave quote unquote early and always run over on hours, so they implement a new policy. Work starts at 9 and runs till 5, you have to be on the floor ready to go when the clock hits 9. I try to explain to my new boss exactly why I leave early, but he's more concerned about numbers and cash flow than what I actually do there. So fine, you want 9 to 5, I'll work 9 to 5. Instead of punching in at 4, I chill in my car until 8:45 and roll into the building, wait till exactly 9 and punch, then head to the floor. Roll up to the first Haas on the line and hit the E-stop, which shuts the machine down instantly. Tell the operator this hasn't been set up yet and they need to wait till it's ready. Head down the line and punch every one I pass, telling them the same thing, not ready, go wait. I start at the end of the line with my platinum gauges and start calibrating the entire magazine, verifying everything in there is in spec and is ready to be used. Get the machine done and home the probe so the machine knows where it is in 3D space and move to the next. That was about 40 minutes since I took my time. Meanwhile, the rest of the line is dead in the water. Nobody can do any work until their deck passes calibration and is certified to use. I'm part way through the second unit when I have my new manager breathing down my neck. Why is nothing running? What's going on? Etc, etc, etc. I sit back on my haunches and calmly explain to him, this is my job. The one that until today I used to come in hours early to do as to not mess with the production schedule. I need to get this done, should be ready to start the line in another 5 or 6 hours, boss. I'm told to unlock and get the line moving. No can do. None of these machines are checked and I'm not signing off on the certification until I'm done. Anything not certified is an instant quality control reject. Choose. Run the line and reject $1 million in parts, or let me finish and lose $1 million in production time and I go back to my old schedule tomorrow. The plant got a day paid to do nothing, I got the new boss off my back, and he got reamed all to heck for losing a day's production. Top comment says, moral for any of the managers out there, question why the team does things the way they do, but don't just come at it to alter everything. That's true. This next post is by MaliciousCompliance. All modifications must be restored to the original. I told this story to a friend and she suggested I share it here. My family and I moved into a home in 2008. 5 bedrooms, 3,200 square feet, $1,600 a month. It was a decent price in 2008 and the rent stayed the same for many years. Since I'm reasonably handy, I would fix things myself rather than bother an old man. I lived there so long that I also made quite a few upgrades. In 2024, the owner unfortunately passed away and his son inherited the property. A week later, he gave notice of intent to inspect the property. During the inspection, he kept trying to open drawers and look through my belongings, which isn't legally allowed and was rude when I stopped him. As he left, he handed me a notice that my rent was increasing to $4,000 monthly, about $1,000 over market value. I would have paid higher rent if it had been reasonable, but I wasn't paying that much. My month-to-month lease was worded to require 3 months' notice to raise the rent. I pointed out this fact, then gave him notice that I would be moving out at the end of the 3 months. A few days later, I was served with an eviction notice. The month-to-month lease also required 3 months' notice to evict me without cause, so he tried evicting me with cause. He claimed I had made unauthorized modifications to the house and cited the back door with a dog door installed. I still had the original door in the garage and the previous owner's permission, so it was neither unauthorized nor a modification. Regardless, the judge decided I needed to move out within 30 days or he would grant the eviction. Additionally, he explicitly ordered that all modifications must be restored to the original. This is where the malicious compliance comes in, and I'm sure you already see this coming. All the smart house additions I made were removed. The tool shed in the yard was removed. The pond was filled in. Closet organizers were torn out. Garage organizers were removed. The updated appliances were replaced with basic models. Every update I made was removed, and then I moved out. He sued me for removing everything. His lawyer cited a law that says any changes to the property become part of the property, and it's illegal to remove them when vacating the property. However, my lawyer pointed out the order from the previous judge, stating all modifications must be restored to the original. I provided receipts for all the things I had removed, providing I had added them, and was required to remove them. I won the case and he had to pay my legal fees. A few months later, I got a call from his sister. Some of my mail had not been forwarded and she wanted to ensure I got it. We had a short conversation about the whole ordeal. She told me the house was actually inherited by 4 siblings. Her brother had lied to everyone. First, he raised the rent knowing I would move out. He already had a deal to sell the house to one of those big rental companies. He told his siblings the house had negative equity and nobody would get anything from the sale. In reality, the house was paid off and worth about $700,000. They had made an offer on the house, which included all the stuff I later removed. He couldn't afford to replace everything, so they took him to court over the sale. Since all 4 siblings were listed as owners, all were named in the lawsuit, which is how they learnt the truth. In the end, the house sold for $550,000 in exchange for not pressing fraud charges against him. His 3 siblings split the proceeds and he got nothing. Edit. A lot of people ask the same questions. Rather than respond to them individually, I will post them here. How did everything happen so fast after the landlord passed? I guess my wording wasn't clear. I don't actually know when he passed. I only talk to the guy once or twice a year. This all started about a week after I was notified of his death in February of 2024. I moved out in early June. We went to court over the removals in September and I spoke with his sister in December. Everything I posted happened over the span of nearly a year. Why did I rent for 17 years instead of buying a house? I moved into the house during my divorce in 2008. Buying a house during divorce is not easy. I chose this house because it was large enough for me and 3 kids and close to their schools. By the time they moved out, I was set in my ways. I planned to buy another place at some point but was in no rush. How did his siblings not know what he was up to? I don't know. Everything involving me was my first-hand experience. Everything that happened after, that was second-hand information I got from his sister. I can't confirm what she told me, I can only share what she said. Why did I do so many upgrades in a rental? I wasn't tearing out walls or replacing floors. Everything I did was reversible and done to make my life easier. Also, the landlord was retired, never raised the rent and always gave permission. Even though I was renting, it was my home. Why did the judge only give me 30 days to move out? The eviction process didn't happen overnight. I thought this was obvious, but some people seemed confused, me included. From the point that I gave him 3 months notice to seeing a judge, nearly 2 months had passed. There is a timed process that has to be followed. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. How did I remove everything so quickly? None of the stuff was difficult to remove. The pond was not a small lake, it was a small 300-gallon hole in the backyard with a few goldfish and plants. It took about 3 hours to drain and fill it in. The shed was sold to someone who took it away on a flatbed. Organizers were modular. Appliances are simple to replace. The most time-consuming thing was replacing all the smart plugs with standard outlets and smart bulbs with regular bulbs. How are we supposed to believe you had all those receipts? I've been self-employed for 29 years. I keep every receipt because Uncle Sam doesn't mess around when it comes time for an audit. Most receipts come to my email, but I also have a portable receipt scanner for everything else. How would anyone believe the house had negative equity? Again, I can't speak for them, but I can share a personal anecdote. My mother passed in 2022. While settling her estate, we discovered that she had a reverse mortgage. Essentially, a company loaned her money with no mortgage payments. In return, they had to be paid back if she died or tried to sell the house. The house wasn't worth enough to pay them off, so we let them take it. Reverse mortgages are prevalent and often predatory. I don't know if he told them this, but it's not far-fetched to believe a house has negative equity. Thank you for the Q&A towards the end there, OP. I really appreciated that. That made things a lot easier. This next post is by 50 Many Questions. I can't give students a 0 for using AI unless I have proof? No problem. I'm a high school English teacher. I have two major annoyances when it comes to kids doing work. First, a lot of kids don't read or listen to directions. Assignment instructions are written on their papers and I read them out loud, but I still have students asking me, what are we doing? That's no big deal though. It's a pretty normal thing to deal with as a teacher. The real issue bugging me is students cheating on writing assignments using ChatGPT. I'm pretty good at spotting AI generated essays, but the problem is that when I try to accuse students of using AI, they deny it. They act outraged that I would even accuse them, even though we both know they're just plain dumb. I usually just give them a 0 and move on with my life, but there's always the fear that one of them might take the issue to administration. If they did, I'm not confident that admin would back me up. It's hard to prove something is AI generated, and these days, the higher ups are more likely to side with the student. So I hatched a plan. I gave an open-ended creative writing assignment. The directions said to write a story about anything you want, and then answer some questions about the story you wrote. The thing is, when you ask ChatGPT tell me a story, it always spits out the exact same story, about a girl named Alara who lived in the woods. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and dense forest, there lived a very young woman named Alara. She was known throughout the village for her curiosity and sense of adventure, always eager to explore the world beyond the familiar paths of her home. So in slightly smaller print under the instructions I wrote, if your main character's name is Alara, minus 99 points. Lo and behold, I get 1 or 2 kids turning a story about a girl named Alara who lives in the woods. When I turn back the papers with a grade of 1 of 100, because I find that it stings more than a 0, the kids predictably ask why, and all I had to do was point to the instructions that they didn't read. There was no need to mention AI. We both know what they did. Edit. For people saying they tried ChatGPT and got a different story/name, I don't know why it's inconsistent. All I know is that I get the same story every time and so do my students. The paragraph I put in the post was copied from ChatGPT directly. I discovered all this when a student submitted that same story earlier in the year for a different creative writing assignment. Love this top comment here. When I was in college, I had an ethics professor catch a student cheating. This was way back before AI, but people could still find papers online. The student denied he cheated, but the professor showed him where he found it online and pointed to the name of the author. It was the professor. That's so funny. Set up a full-on trap for your student. And also it's in ethics, which the irony there is so on the nose. And anyway, that's going to be it guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories in r/MaliciousCompliance. Let me know what you'd like to listen to next in the comment section below. And also hit that subscribe button, please, because I post new Reddit content every single day. Please, please do it, please, I beg you, please. There are 2 videos on the screen, one of which is for the most recent video and another is for a video the YouTube algorithm thinks you'll want to watch next. My name is Trey, this was Reload Reacts and I will see you in the next video.